banks are buying gold, why many Americans are diversifying with precious metals, and how a tax and penalty-free rollover into physical gold and silver may fit into your retirement strategy. Don't wait until the next crisis dominates the headlines. Call Advantage Gold at 800-900-8000 right now. Consult your financial advisor before investing. Call 800-900-8000.
Live from Little Rock, Doc Washburn.
It's fun when they let me out to go talk to people.
He's like the adorable puppy, you know. He chews on your Christian Louboutins, but somehow you still love him.
They say I'm a distinguished radio talk show.
No insult intended. The news you don't get anywhere else. Doc Washburn.
It's good to be able to get out of the studio so that I can actually kiss hands and shake babies.
You just can't make this stuff up.
As we say here in the natural state, y'all come see us.
You better watch what you say, or you might just find yourself with the lead role.
The Doc Washburn Show. Weekday afternoons 4 to 6.
If I don't lie down and take a nap, I'm going to keel over.
Doc Washburn on 101.1. The Answer.
Can we rock? What's up, Doc? Can we rock? What's up, Doc?
101.1 The Answer. Doc Washburn Show continues, where if we're talking about something, you want to get the conversation. Number to call is 501-401-1011. Had a remarkable conversation yesterday in the 5 o'clock hour with Bud Cummins. He was U.S. Attorney for Eastern District of Arkansas for over 5 years. He is representing Mayor Malinowski, the widow of Brian Malinowski, the gentleman who was the director of the Little Rock Airport until the ATF, in my opinion, murdered him in cold blood in his own home on March 19th, 2024. And I'll just tell you this. The overwhelming majority of people who are aware of the government shooting of our airport director in his own home are horrified, are outraged, don't understand why no one has yet been held accountable. But for the small minority who somehow think that the director of our airport, who had never been in trouble with the law, somehow got what he deserved, I would dare them to read the judge's ruling. And I've linked to it on the Doc Washburn personal Facebook page and the Doc Washburn Show Facebook page, 57-page ruling by Judge Rudofsky. Because as Bud Cummins pointed out yesterday, the judge is basically telling the defendants, if these are the facts of the case, you guys are in a world of hurt. If what is stipulated here actually happened, you guys are in a bad way. Because Ms. Malinowski, through her attorney, Bud Cummins, his law firm, and 3 other heavy hitter law firms, one from out of state, are suing for wrongful death and a host of other charges. So anyway, this should have been a national story from day one. But national media, mainstream media, cannot be bothered with it. And when I talk about national media, I don't think I ever heard anything about it on Fox News. So not just the mainstream media, but the guys who are supposed to be on our side. I'll tell you what, I'm at foxnews.com. Let me just type in Malinowski. I can't watch things 24/7. Maybe I missed something. Maybe I missed something. Nope. There is nothing about Brian Malinowski on the entire foxnews.com website. Nothing. Apparently, there is a Democrat U.S. representative who had the same last name, and somebody was fussing at him a few years ago. But that's it. That's close as you're going to get. So the guy who has been covering this, a friend of mine named Jay Greeland, he's got a Substack imprint called Arkansas Monitor. And this is what dropped yesterday evening on his Substack. The new article, Bullets Before Sunrise, from a Little Rock police dash cam as the sun rises on her cul-de-sac. Maria Malinowski is escorted to a car that will convey her to a fire station restroom. The transcript below is a record of the conversation between the distraught wife and two police officers during Mrs. Malinowski's last 8 minutes in the police vehicle. And we can't, as is often the case, can't really play the audio on the radio because dash cam recordings don't really have very good audio quality. Anyway, here's what Jay Greeland is saying over at Arkansas Monitor on Substack. For the hour and 16 minutes that the ATF detained Maria Malinowski in a Little Rock police car, the distraught wife of the executive director of Little Rock Airport pleaded for warmer clothes, a restroom break, a cup of coffee, and permission to check on her pet pugs, two little dogs they had. Mrs. Malinowski had been a step behind her husband, Brian, when an ATF agent shot him in the head. She had to step over his body to obey the ATF order for her to leave the house with her hands over her head. Agents placed her in a Little Rock police vehicle and ordered Little Rock police to detain her until they said she could go. The dashboard camera in the police car captured the sounds and a view of the neighbor's driveway as the sun rose during the 76 minutes Mrs. Malinowski spent in the car. Until the last 24 seconds of the video, we never glimpsed Mrs. Malinowski. We only hear her voice. The front of the police car was parked toward the home of the Malinowski's next-door neighbor, so the view out of the windshield is of the neighbor's driveway and garage. But once the ATF finally released her, although temporarily, Mrs. Malinowski walked in front of the police car with a female Little Rock officer to escort her. So here's the transcript. First Little Rock police officer says, "Hey, Maria, just want to let you know what's going on, okay? Are you getting warm? Are you staying warm? Do I need to adjust it at all?" Ms. Malinowski says, "No, I'm fine." Little Rock police officer says, "So we're going to have a female officer to pick you up, okay? What we're going to do is take you to the fire station so you can go to the bathroom, clean up, all right? Also, whatever, when she gets here, we're going to call it the state police. If the state police say they need you to hang tight, we can't leave, okay?" Ms. Malinowski, say that again. LRPD officer, "We're going to try to get you to a fire station so you can get cleaned up and go to the bathroom, okay? So, Ms. Malinowski, why can't I go in there?" Referring to her own home. LRPD officer, "It's a crime scene right now." Ms. Malinowski, "I'm not going to touch anything. I just want to get my clothes and check on my pugs and get some coffee. Please, I'm not going to go over there." LRPD officer, "Miss Maria, listen, okay? We can't let anyone go in there. It's an investigation, okay? Because state police are going to show up again and process the crime scene, and it might take a little bit, all right? When they get here, we'll know more. It may be a little bit before they get here." Ms. Malinowski, "I need to rinse my mouth. I need to make some coffee, please. I'm not going to touch anything, please." LRPD officer, "I believe you. We can't do that, okay?" Now, this is what we call, because I'm so reminded of the Nuremberg trials, "I was just following orders." That's what they're all about. Just following orders. Constitution, what? Constitutional rights, what? Unlawful imprisonment, what? No idea. No idea. These people are just brain dead. And I say this as someone who has had nothing but positive interactions with the Little Rock Police Department for years. But fortunately, nobody came into my home and murdered my spouse and forced me into a police car. Maybe it would have been different if that had happened. Ms. Malinowski says, I need to go to a fire station. I got my clothes here, please. And then she starts crying. Police radio says we got some trouble with a BPO plasma. That's Boy Paul Ocean Plasma. LRPD officer. A heads up on what we're trying to do for you right now, okay? Ms. Malinowski, my pugs. LRPD officer, let me ask. Ms. Malinowski, I just want to get dressed. LRPD officer, I understand. Car door slams, and then the car door opens. So 6:40 a.m., which would be less than 40 minutes after the ATF officer shot her husband, a second Little Rock police officer, a female, walks in front of the police car. Second officer says, hi, do you need shoes? Let's get in the car, okay? Ms. Malinowski, my pugs, I need clothes. First LRPD officer, Miss Maria. Ms. Malinowski, would you go with me? First officer, your pugs are okay. They're still in the back room, okay? That's where they're at. They're fine. Ms. Malinowski, go with me so I can get some clothes. They're over here on this side. First officer speaking to second officer, the whole house is a crime scene right now. Second officer, we needed, let's come with me. I thought she needed to use the bathroom. Ms. Malinowski, I do, but second officer, let's go use the restroom. First officer, one thing at a time, Miss Maria. Second officer, okay, let's go this way. Car door closes. Ms. Malinowski, crying, walks in front of the police vehicle, a dark blanket draped over her shoulders. But as we know, they never did let her use the restroom in her own home. They never did let her use the restroom at the neighbor's house. They insisted on taking her to a fire station where she had to walk by firemen dressed in a spaghetti strap top and some boxers with a blanket around her. And the female law enforcement agent says, I have to go into the bathroom with you. Now, she's not under arrest. She's not charged with anything. And yet this female police officer insists, I've got to go into the bathroom with you. As Bud Cummins, attorney, said yesterday, the judge made clear in his 57-page ruling, if all the facts presented here are correct, the defendants are in a world of hurt. I've got more, and I've got some good news from the Supreme Court on an unrelated case coming up, and more about Iran coming up. There's a lot to talk about today. As the Doc Washer Show continues on Little Rock's premier talk station, 101.1 The Answer.
What's up, Doc? Can we rock? What's up, Doc? Can we rock? What's up, Doc? Can we rock?
This July 4th at 4 p.m., America pauses to pray. Join the 1776 Prayer Challenge. Pray, salute, stand for America. Visit 1776prayer.org. Did you hear Congressman French Hill on the Dave Ellswick Show?
Every Democrat on the ballot this fall voted to raise every Arkansan's taxes last year.
Yeah.
People on the ballot, every Democrat in the House and Senate voted to raise people's taxes in 2026. They voted against an increased child tax credit. They voted against cutting taxes on tips and overtime, which has been such a boon to so many working families. And if you combine, for a working mom working two jobs, she's picking up tips, extra income, waiting tables. She's got a double child tax credit and lower taxes and a bigger refund this year. And Trump is trying to finish the decades of attacks on the American homeland, American citizens, and soldiers by Iran.
Don't miss Congressman Hill, Wednesday mornings at 7 on the Dave Ellswick Show, 101.1. The Answer.
When your car is making a strange noise, no matter what it is, you can't just pretend it's not happening.
That's an interesting sound.
It's like your mental health. If you're struggling and feeling overwhelmed, it's important to do something about it. It can be as simple as talking to someone in your community, or just taking a deep, calming breath when you need it. Nice. For mental health resources, check out loveyourmindtoday.org. At loveyourmindtoday.org, you'll find information that may help you get through a tough time. Things like tips for dealing with stress, how to navigate difficulties like financial worries, anger, substance use, and more. You can also find real stories of how people navigated their own mental health challenges. Because once you start to address the problem, you can go so much further. Visit loveyourmindtoday.org. That's loveyourmindtoday.org. Brought to you by the Huntsman Mental Health Institute and the Ad Council.
Here's NASCAR Hall of Famer Mark Martin.
As a race car driver for 40 years, I survived a lot of crashes. Not everyone can run into a wall at 200 miles an hour and walk away. Without a seatbelt, I wouldn't be alive today. Now I'm retired, back home in Arkansas driving my pickup. I'm shocked how many people aren't wearing seatbelts. Why risk your life when it only takes 2 seconds to buckle up? Take it from number 6. Buckle up, Arkansas.
A message from the Arkansas State Police Highway Safety Office.
There's a real battle going on, not only for our future, but that of our children and grandchildren. How do we ensure they have it better than we do? One way is to keep listening to us. We're your information source in the battle. 101.1, The Answer.
The Answer. Doc Washer Show continues. We talk about something. You want to get into the conversation? You want to get into the radio with me? You want to say, no, Doc, wait a minute, man. You got this all wrong. Or you want to say, Doc, hey, man, I appreciate you covering this. You got this all right. Or you want to say, Doc, hey, wait, I got a question. Wait a minute. Any of those things. The number to call is 501-401-1011. Now, I will say this. I got about halfway through the judge's 57-page ruling the night before my interview with Bud Cummins, and some things started occurring to me. And I asked Bud Cummins some questions I don't think anybody else has ever asked him. One of the things I found out right away was, okay, we haven't been through the discovery phase yet. So we have yet to do depositions on these 10 law enforcement officers, 8 ATF agents, and a deputy sheriff out of Mississippi County, Arkansas, and Michael Gibbons with North Little Rock Police Department. And I said, well, okay, this is a question for when you do depose these people. I think we have probably all seen YouTube videos of officer-involved shootings. Young Val, raise your hand if you've ever seen a YouTube video of an officer-involved shooting. Huh? What? Just raise your hand, yes or no. Okay. We've all seen YouTube videos of officer-involved shootings, and here's how they tend to go. The officer only shoots somebody who is threatening him or somebody else. You got a guy high on meth charging you with a machete in the parking lot of a Dollar General or a Big Lots or wherever, and you got to shoot the guy. You got to eliminate the threat. You aim at center mass. All of a sudden, the guy has to do a face plant on the asphalt. And immediately, the training kicks in with the officer. He's doing a 180, and immediately he's trying to save the life of the guy who was just trying to kill him. The first thing you hear is, shots fired, shots fired. Okay, stay with me, buddy. Ambulance, we got to get you help. Ambulance on the way. Stay with me, buddy. guess what? With Malinowski, what the judge's ruling says is that several law enforcement agents walked past Mr. Malinowski with a head wound and noticed he was struggling to breathe. But nobody was rendering CPR, first aid, anything.
But we don't know that because they covered the video camera with tape. And they didn't wear their body camera.
Okay, my producer is saying they covered the video camera with tape. That's the Ring doorbell camera. I'm talking about inside the house. And, well, another thing that the judge's ruling did point out was that Little Rock Police Department officers and ATF officers all are required by law to wear body cams, and none of them did. And, of course, when our state legislature got upset about this, and they brought in the chief of the Little Rock Police to ask him why your officers weren't wearing body cameras that day, he said, well, City Attorney Tom Carpenter said to me that we might get sued, so I can't tell you. No, he didn't plead the Fifth Amendment, none of that stuff. And there was no lawsuit yet. And I might point out that even when the lawsuit was filed, it was against the U.S. federal government, it was against the ATF, it was against 8 ATF agents, and 2 people acting as task force officers, the guy from Mississippi County, Arkansas, and Michael Gibbons, North Little Rock police officer. I want to make sure anytime I mention his name, I always say it clearly because, some people need to be famous. So anyway, I would not be surprised if when the depositions do begin, Bud Cummins might not ask each and every one of these people about that. Now, the other thing is, and I checked the ATF. I actually Googled this. ATF training center mass. And all ATF agents get training at FLETC. That's the abbreviation for Federal Law Enforcement Training Center. And I know where it is because I used to live right across the street from it. It was half a mile away from my house in Brunswick, Georgia. And they're trained to aim at center mass, not to necessarily kill the perpetrator, but to neutralize the threat by hitting center mass. So, if you aim at center mass and the bullet goes through his heart and he's dead, oh, well, too bad. He shouldn't have been attacking you. Or if the bullet hits somewhere in his stomach and he gets sent to ER and they're able to save his life, oh, okay, well, there you go. But why was it that ATF agent Tyler Cowart aimed at Malinowski's head for the surefire kill shot instead of center mass? And why did the other ATF agent, who was supposed to be the first guy in the door holding a shield with a big letter saying police on it, instead set the shield down on the front porch and refused to go in and confuse everybody? So the first guy in had a gun but no identification. And as the judge pointed out in his 57-page ruling, part of the operations plan was going to be they're going to use a PA to announce their presence, and they're going to call Brian Malinowski's cell phone, and they didn't do any of that. Yeah, I agree with Congressman Darrell Issa out of California. It looks like a planned hit. They wanted him dead. More coming up. Doc Washer Show continues. 101.1 The Answer.
With SRN News, I'm John Scott. The U.S. has struck Iran to respond to a drone attack a day earlier on a cargo ship. It happened in the Strait of Hormuz, a provocation that President Trump said violated the ceasefire. U.S. Central Command said the military struck missile and drone locations and coastal radar sites in Iran. The president of Venezuela's National Assembly, Jorge Rodriguez, gave a fresh update on the toll from the twin earthquakes that devastated the country. Over 900 people have died and over 3,000 have been injured. Utah's governor restricting fireworks as the largest wildfire in the nation continues to grow. The Cottonwood Fire in southern Utah, which started Monday, has reached nearly 111 square miles. It's 0% contained. Dry, windy conditions are fueling wildfire growth across much of the western U.S. This is SRN News.
Progressive knows you've got plenty of things to worry about.
What time does the kids' practice end? How long has that check engine light been on? Are takeout containers microwave safe?
So the last thing you should have to worry about is what to do if something unexpected happens on the road. That's why if you're ever in a major accident, Progressive's accident response can detect it and send help. It's just one less thing to worry about.
How long does chicken last in the fridge?
Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Limited availability in California. Drivers responsible for emergency and towing charges not covered by the policy.
If you want unlimited talk, text, and data on a crazy fast network, Big Wireless will sell it to you right now for as little as $70 a month. Or you can buy it from Pure Talk for half of that. I'm talking about unlimited talk, text, and unlimited data for just $34.99 a month. Stop paying the big guys twice what you need to. Dial pound 250, say my name. That's pound 250 micro to switch to Pure Talk, where the savings are truly.
In the world of generators, trust, not marketing, defines success. Northside Power is a trusted name when the fire goes out. We're ranked #1 in generator sales, service, and installation. No gimmick and no side hustle. No matter your home's needs, Northside Power installs, service, and monitors generators 24/7. When the power goes out, excuses don't keep your lights on. Experience does. That's Northside Power. Generators isn't something we do, it's all we do. In the world of generators, trust, not marketing, defines success. Northside Power is a trusted name when the fire goes out. We're ranked #1 in generator sales, service, and installation. No gimmick and no side hustle. No matter your home's needs, Northside Power installs, service, and monitors generators 24/7. When the power goes out, excuses don't keep your lights on. Experience does. That's Northside Power. Generators isn't something we do, it's all we do.
Are you suffering with dizziness or balance issues? Do you just feel off? What about brain fog? Do you suffer with tightness in your neck or shoulders? How about exhaustion and vagus nerve imbalance? The Arkansas Upper Cervical Center may be able to help you. They're a husband and wife team who take a unique all-natural approach to finding the root cause of your symptoms, and they've been helping people in Arkansas for years. To get a free consultation, just go to their website, turnmypoweron.com. Turnmypoweron.com.
The news never stops, and neither does your schedule. That's why we're here, keeping you up to date with all the biggest stories of the day. We're 101.1 The Answer, where Little Rock comes to talk. America is at a tipping point. To ensure we stay the land of the free and home of the brave, you need to be informed and engaged. That's why we're here. 101.1 The Answer, where Little Rock comes to talk.
The Answer. Doc Washburn Show continues. If we're talking about something you want to talk about, the number to call is 501-401-1011. Speaking of Fox News, this dropped about 20 minutes ago. U.S. strikes Iran after Strait of Hormuz cargo ship attack as ceasefire tensions escalate. Wait a minute. You don't mean to tell me that Iran violated the ceasefire? What's that old parable about the scorpion wanting to ride across the flooded river? And what was that, a turtle? The turtle said, yeah, I'll give you a ride. And halfway across, the scorpion stings him. Maybe it was a mammal. That would have made more sense. Maybe like a rabbit or a fox or something says, yeah, scorpion, you can ride on my back across a flooded river. And halfway across the deepest part of the river, The scorpion stings the fox or rabbit or whatever, which says, "Scorpion, why'd you do that? Now we're both going to drown. Now we're both going to die." Scorpion said, "Because I'm a scorpion." Why'd you trust me not to sting you? I'm a scorpion. That's what we do. Okay. 2 U.S. officials confirmed to Fox News an Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps IRGC drone struck a Singapore-flagged cargo ship in the Strait of Hormuz on Thursday. The International Maritime Organization said it's temporarily pausing its vessel evacuation operation in the region following the attack. Officials from Israel and Lebanon are set to begin the fourth day of peace negotiations in Washington, D.C. on Friday. President Donald Trump says that unfrozen Iranian assets would be used to buy American crops. Wait. What to know under Iran, under U.S. strikes Iran after Strait of Hormuz cargo ship attack? That's getting all into completely unrelated stuff. So let's go over here and see what CENTCOM is saying. U.S. Central Command. U.S. Central Command, CENTCOM forces conducted strikes against Iran June 26 as a powerful response to yesterday's attack on a commercial ship that was transiting the Strait of Hormuz. U.S. aircraft struck Iranian missile and drone storage locations and coastal radar sites after Iran hit MV Ever Lovely on June 25 with a one-way attack drone. The Singapore-flagged cargo ship was exiting the Strait of Hormuz along the coast of Oman at the time of Iran's attack. The unwarranted aggression against commercial shipping by Iranian forces clearly violated the ceasefire. I'm just shocked. I can't believe. Because, see, J.D. Vance told us that the hardliners of the IRGC are like, hey, what the heck? Maybe we've been doing this all wrong for 47 years, and we should just, play nice. That's what J.D. Vance. He swore on one side down the other that they're going to be okay from now on. And President Trump himself even said, well, we took out the top 2 or 3 levels of leadership. So the guys that are in charge now, they're much more reasonable. So there has been regime change, ignoring the fact that they continue to execute teenagers. But, what a shock this must be for President Trump, but especially for Vice President J.D. Vance. Anyway, I digress. CENTCOM says the unwarranted aggression against commercial shipping by Iranian forces clearly violated the ceasefire. Furthermore, Iran's dangerous behavior undermined freedom of navigation as commerce increasingly flows through the vital international trade corridor. CENTCOM forces continue to provide safe passage, coordination, and support to commercial vessels transiting the strait. The U.S. military remains present and vigilant to ensure all aspects of the agreement with Iran are adhered to, obeyed, and in full force and effect. Well, that's just great. Maybe this is just a little hiccup. You think? Just a little bump in the road. Fox News also has embedded from Will Cain, whose show comes on before mine. Video from Will Cain. U.S. military strikes against Iranian targets remain ongoing, according to what a senior U.S. defense official told Fox News on Friday. The official said the U.S. force posture in the Middle East has not changed since the memorandum of understanding with Iran was signed earlier this month. According to the official, U.S. assets in the region include 2 aircraft carriers, 17 guided missile destroyers, the 31st Marine Expeditionary Unit, and more than a dozen air squadrons operating at sea. So, the question is, how long Are we going to continue pretending that the IRGC is going to hold to any agreement? Because you know they aren't. It's not going to happen, man. We all know that. So, did you hear J.D. Vance had this great idea? Starting tomorrow, he's going to have direct negotiations between the heads of CENTCOM and heads of IRGC across the table from each other. So I hope whoever walks in the door first in the IRGC to shake hands with the CENTCOM guys doesn't have a suicide bomb on, because I wouldn't put it past them. Not at all. We don't know what we're up against. And by we, I mean they, as in Trump and Vance, have no idea what we're up against. Okay, so Iran's soccer team, is going to play in the World Cup, the FIFA thing. And Iran and Egypt over there in Seattle were demanding no rainbow flags, no Pride Month stuff, not with us playing soccer in the stadium in Seattle. And everybody's like, well, now, that's interesting. You kind of wonder, is FIFA going to roll over for the Muslims or roll over for the gays? And I'm sure there were people who were betting one way or the other. But there has been an announcement. FIFA folds, allows rainbow flags to fly in Seattle Stadium despite objections from Iran and Egypt. Rainbow flags will be allowed inside the stadium in Seattle, where the FIFA World Cup group game between Iran and Egypt is to be held this evening, I guess, despite both countries objecting to the standards associated with the LGBT community. Both countries are predominantly Muslim. Homosexuality is illegal in Iran, criminalized in Egypt. But Hannah Tades, spokesperson for Seattle's World Cup organizing committee, said on June 24th, FIFA considers the rainbow flag a statement of human rights, will allow fans to wave it inside Lumen Field in Seattle. December 2025, the soccer federations of both Iran and Egypt complained after it became clear that Seattle's World Cup organizing committee, easy for me to say, wanted to use the match as a once-in-a-lifetime moment to showcase and celebrate LGBTQIA plus communities in Washington. Now, the part I've always wondered about, where do you find these QIA plus communities? L stands for lesbian, G stands for gay, B stands for bisexual, T stands for want to dress up to look like what you're not. But the QIA plus, because we're told Q does not stand for queer, it stands for questioning. I think everybody's got questions. I'm asking one right now. Anyway, as Chris Summers reports for Epoch Times, under FIFA's Gold World Cup stadium policy, that is, it is prohibited for fans to bring in certain controversial political items. Really? So here's the quote from FIFA's World Cup stadium policy. Any materials, including but not limited to banners, flags, flyers, apparel, and other paraphernalia that are of a political, offensive, and or discriminatory nature, containing wording, symbols, or any other attributes aimed at discrimination of any kind against a country, private person, or group on account of race, skin color, ethnicity, national or social origin, gender, disability, language, religion, political, or any other opinion, birth, wealth, or any other status, sexual orientation, or any other grounds, according to the policy. When Iran played its first game against New Zealand in Inglewood, California on June 15th, the Epoch Times reported FIFA had banned Iranian fans who opposed the regime in Tehran from flying the country's flag from before the Iranian Revolution in 1979, which bears a lion and sun standard inside the stadium. June 25th, before the Iranian soccer team held a news conference in Seattle, Daniel Marin, FIFA's executive director of PR, read a statement on behalf of the Iranian team, which said, "This Islamic Republic of the Iran Football Federation has asked us to inform the media that they are only willing to answer questions in relation to the game. We fully respect the right of all journalists to ask questions. In this case, we ask you to respect the rights of the Federation here today to only answer questions in relation to the team, the tactics, the match, and so on." Iran goalkeeper Alireza Baranvand made a save against Belgium during their soccer World Cup match in Inglewood. That's one of the reasons that they're going to the next round. But Iran's coach, Amir Galanoui, was still asked a barrage of questions about the issue of the gay pride flags by journalists, which he declined to answer. If Iran wins, they will advance to the knockout stage of the World Cup for the first time. The coach said, "I said to you earlier, we're here to play football for nothing else." Oh, I'd like to see him try to play actual football. That's a whole other show. He says, "Our entire focus is going to be on tomorrow's game, on succeeding in tomorrow's game, and anything else that is banned, we don't want to speak about it." Yeah, I really thought that the FIFA folks would roll over for the Muslims, not the gays, but they eventually will. But that's a whole nother show. All right, more coming up as the Doc Washer Show continues on Little Rock's premier talk station, 101.1 The Answer.
Just waiting on a friend. I'm just waiting on a friend.
When you need the news that matters most, you need the Doc Washburn Show. Live and local, Doc covers the latest breaking news from Arkansas and across the nation. Plus, he digs into the stories no one else is talking about, the issues that affect you, your family, and your community. Smart analysis, straight talk, real conversations. The Doc Washburn Show.
Hey, Doc, I appreciate you taking my call. I feel really confident to say anytime that I turn on the radio and you're on the radio, I know that I'm going to get accurate reporting. I'm going to get unbiased perspective, and I want you to know I appreciate it. You do an exceptional job. So I'm listening with intent because I know and I trust that you're going to give us the facts and not an opinion per se.
The Doc Washburn Show, weekdays from 4 to 6 p.m. on 101.1 The Answer, where Little Rock comes to talk.
Whether retirement's just around the corner or already here, it's common to be overwhelmed. That's where Total Wealth with David Lucas can help. Utilizing their signature Thrive planning process, they'll work together with you to identify and resolve your concerns, allowing you to fully pursue your passions and enjoy life. Because a successful retirement isn't just how much you save, it's the quality of life you live. Schedule a free evaluation now at TotalWealth.com. While you're at the website, download the free guide to Social Security. It'll help answer a lot of your questions. Go to TotalWealth.com or call 501-382-8800. 501-382-8800. One more time, go to TotalWealth.com or call 501-382-8800. That's 501-382-8800. 501-382-8800. Go to totalwealth.com.
Investment advisory services offered through Lucas Total Wealth, an Arkansas registered investment advisor. Arkansas Insurance License number 161527743.
When your car is making a strange noise, no matter what it is, you can't just pretend it's not happening.
That's an interesting sound.
It's like your mental health. If you're struggling and feeling overwhelmed, it's important to do something about it. It can be as simple as talking to someone in your community, or just taking a deep, calming breath when you need it. Nice. For mental health resources, check out loveyourmindtoday.org. At loveyourmindtoday.org, you'll find information that may help you get through a tough time. Things like tips for dealing with stress, how to navigate difficulties like financial worries, anger, substance use, and more. You can also find real stories of how people navigated their own mental health challenges. Because once you start to address the problem, you can go so much further. Visit loveyourmindtoday.org. That's loveyourmindtoday.org. Brought to you by the Huntsman Mental Health Institute and the Ad Council.
The Answer. Doc Washburn Show continues. We're talking about something you want to get to the conversation. Number to call is 501-401-1011. Hear about John Bolton? John Bolton pleads guilty. Agrees to $2.25 million fine. Imprisonment unlikely. Let's look at what Technofog is saying over there on his imprint on Substack called The Reactionary. When John Bolton wrote his White House memoir, The Room Where It Happened, I doubt he ever thought he was sealing his fate to be a convicted felon. Not because he wasn't aware of potential criminal exposure, but because he was too arrogant to think that judgment would come for him. Yo, this is called whom the bell tolls for, baby. You know what I'm saying? But I digress. The book was highly critical of President Trump, especially concerning his relationship with and statements to Asian and European powers. Bolton alleged Trump approved of Chinese internment camps, did his best to try to confirm the accusations of Trump's impeachment regarding his so-called actions toward Ukraine, which were previously disproved already. And Bolton meddled in Department of Justice investigations. It was a memoir as a political tool. Released June 23rd, 2020, just as the presidential campaign was heating up, and 2 months before the first debate between President Trump and Joe Biden, and time to provide Democrats and concerned members of the establishment with enough ammunition to hopefully sway the election. If Bolton's political and financial motives were ever in doubt, recall that he was planning the memoir while serving as Trump's national security advisor. He had contact with a literary agent during that time, and only a day after Bolton's firing, his literary agent reached out to a publisher stating, and I quote, Bolton's forthcoming book would include Bolton's impressions of his time as national security advisor in a meticulously observed manner with direct quotes from all parties based on contemporaneous notes, unquote. The release of John Bolton's memoir was delayed from his spring 2020 date due to a suit by the government, which sought to enjoin his publication due to the fact Bolton had previously agreed as part of serving as national security advisor to not disclose classified information unless authorized by the government. Before publication, Bolton was aware the manuscript contained classified information. But he proceeded to give the final manuscript to his publisher without getting written authorization from the government, a term he had agreed to back in 2018. Though the government's lawsuit was unsuccessful and the book would be published, the federal judge overseeing the case noted that Bolton likely jeopardized national security by disclosing classified information, a violation of his non-disclosure agreement obligations. The judge also concluded Bolton gambled with the national security of the United States and exposed himself to civil and potentially criminal liability. But Bolton had political scores to settle, and the $2 million advance didn't hurt. The civil case matters because As part of the 2021 settlement of that case, Bolton agreed to provide the U.S. all classified materials in his possession, custody, or control, but he never intended to abide by the agreement. When the FBI executed search warrants on his Maryland home and his Washington, D.C. office, they found documents that related to the national defense and contained classified information. Today's plea deal will give back that advance with interest. Bolton has pled guilty, count 12 of the indictment, which charged him with retention of national defense information in violation of 18 U.S. Code 793. In total, Bolton faced 18 charges in the indictment for transmission and retention of national defense information. The statement of facts accompanying the plea deal established with particularity just how Bolton accumulated and shared classified intel with his wife and daughter to further the memoir. His notes and writings, which included details Bolton learned from meetings with senior members of the U.S. government, his intelligence community and military briefings, and his discussions with foreign leaders and foreign intelligence and military organizations. These were distributed to his wife and daughter through unsecure email and messaging apps while he was National Security Advisor, so the memoir could be finished as soon as he was fired. As part of the plea deal, the parties, Bolton and the government, will recommend the court impose a criminal fine of $2.25 million. The parties further stipulated the sentence should be no greater than 60 months in prison, though each party reserves the right to advocate for any sentence from probation up to 60 months imprisonment. Sentencing is this October. We don't expect the court to impose imprisonment for such a high-profile first-time offender paying a substantial criminal fine. Unfortunately, other obligations under the plea include Bolton's debriefing with federal authorities concerning the offenses and related conduct, up to 100 hours of community service, and not retaining or divulging any other classified information. It's a fitting end for Bolton. His arrogant superiority and self-righteousness, his political vindictiveness, and his greed, they all got the best of him. All for a book that even the New York Times described as bloated with self-importance. Here he is trying to help out the Democrats, and their main imprint, the New York Times, is like, it's not really all that, it's, you just think you're all that in a bag of chips, but you're not. Anyway, the Babylon Bee pointed out maybe he could have avoided prosecution if only he had thought to do what Biden did and keep the classified documents in his garage next to his Corvette. Then maybe, everything would have been hunky-dory. Well, Babylon Bee is a satire. So. Okay, more coming up as the Doc Washer Show continues on Little Rock's premier talk station, 101.1 The Answer.
When you need the news that matters most, you need the Doc Washburn Show. Live and local, Doc covers the latest breaking news from Arkansas and across the nation. Plus, he digs into the stories no one else is talking about, the issues that affect you, your family, and your community. Smart analysis, straight talk, real conversations. The Doc Washburn Show.
Hey, Doc, I appreciate you taking my call. I feel really confident to say anytime that I turn on the radio and you're on the radio, I know that I'm going to get accurate reporting. I'm going to get unbiased perspective, and I want you to know I appreciate it. You do an exceptional job. So I'm listening with intent because I know and I trust that you're going to give us the facts and not an opinion per se.
The Doc Washburn Show, weekdays from 4 to 6 p.m. on 101.1 The Answer, where Little Rock comes to talk. Find us at 1011fmtheanswer.com. Download our app, stream us 24/7, or watch us at snc.tv. KDXE, Kamek Village, Little Rock.
News this hour from Town Hall. I'm John Scott. A flare-up in the Middle East. The U.S. has struck Iran to respond to a drone attack a day earlier on a cargo ship in the Strait of Hormuz, a provocation that President Trump said violated the ceasefire. U.S. Central Command said the military struck missile and drone locations and coastal radar sites in Iran. The U.S. and Iran still negotiating terms of the deal, including issues such as getting ships through the strait and addressing the future of Iran's stockpile of highly enriched uranium. Secretary of State Marco Rubio says the State Department and Pentagon will work together to provide humanitarian aid to the victims of the twin Venezuelan earthquakes.
We've already stood up our disaster response teams at the Department of State and our humanitarian efforts. It's something we did very well in Jamaica after that storm, and it's something we're really prepared to do now. So I already spoken to Secretary Hegseth. The Department of War is going to have to play a big logistical role here because they have the ability to land in challenging places.
SRN News and our parent company Salem Media are partnering with Christian nonprofit Food for the Poor to rush emergency aid to the victims of the tragedy. Listeners wanting to help can find an online banner at the top of our website at srnnews.com. 5 arrests made after damage to the Lincoln Memorial reflecting pool.
Vandals who targeted the newly renovated Lincoln Memorial reflecting pool are now facing consequences. After critics blamed the Trump administration for damage at the landmark, investigators say vandalism was the real cause. Officials say multiple suspects damaged portions of the pool, leading to arrests and federal citations. Repairs are already underway ahead of America's 250th birthday celebration.
More from townhall.com.
Vandals who targeted the newly renovated Lincoln Memorial reflecting pool are now facing. Investigators say vandalism was the real cause.
Hi,
Officials
everyone.
say multiple
if you've been
suspects
injured
damaged
in an
portions
accident
of the.
that was not your fault, listen up. We have legal professionals standing by to answer your questions for free. Call now and find out if you have a case and how much it's potentially worth. Call 800-550-7800. I'm here with spokesman John Wolf. So, John, tell everyone listening who should call right now.
Well, Maria, first off, thank you for having me here. It's always nice to answer the listeners' questions. Now, as far as who should call in, anyone who's been injured in an accident and think you deserve compensation, give us a call right now. 800-550-7800. You'll find out if you have a case and how much it's potentially worth.
Thanks, John. You heard it, folks. Take advantage of this opportunity and call now. 800-550-7800.
Advertisement sponsored by Legal Help Center. May not be available in all states. Not available in California.
With your news flash, John Loretta, 101.1 The Answer. Arkansas Attorney General Tim Griffith has filed a lawsuit against Snap Incorporated, claiming Snapchat's design is addictive to minors. Russellville and Crossett have been awarded $2.5 million in federal grants from the Environmental Protection Agency to address pollution. Southern Arkansas University will raise tuition and mandatory fees for the upcoming school year. The SAU Board of Trustees approved a 2.77% increase. Little Rock School District now requiring a Title IX compliance review before approving large construction projects after complaints about unequal treatment of the softball and baseball teams at Central High School. Tammy Chase Insurance, your local insurance expert, taking the time to understand your needs at no confusion and no pressure. Find out more at TammyChaseInsurance.com. John Loretta with your news flash on 101.1 The Answer.
With your sports flash, I'm Tony Desiri, 101.1 The Answer. Michael McGreevy getting the start tonight for the Cardinals. As they start a 3-game weekend series at Busch Stadium against the Miami Marlins. McGreevy 3-6. Miami going with Max Mayer. He's 8-0 on the season as an ERA of 2.80. The Cardinals have lost 5 of their last 7. Thursday's series finale with the Arizona Diamondbacks postponed due to weather. World Cup, the United States fell to Turkey Thursday night in Los Angeles 3-2, wrapping up group play. The United States winning the group with 6 points, going 2-1. That game did not affect their positioning for the round of 32, the single elimination portion of the tournament. Wednesday night, they'll face Bosnia-Herzegovina at Levi's Stadium in Santa Clara, California. The United States in the knockout round for the 6th straight appearance in the World Cup. The sports update brought to you by Progressive. Bundle auto and home, renters or condo, and save with Progressive. I'm Tony Desiri with your sports flash on 101.1 The Answer.
This great moment in American history is brought to you by
Americans for Prosperity Foundation, Arkansas. Find out more at believeInar.com.
On July 4th, 1776, a group of seemingly ordinary men made an extraordinary decision in a small room in Philadelphia. They put their names to a document that would change the world. The Declaration of Independence wasn't just a breakup letter for King George. It was a bold statement of principle that our rights don't come from government, but from God, that all men are created equal, and that liberty is worth risking everything for. Today, 250 years later, those words still matter, because America isn't just a place, it's an idea born in courage, sustained by sacrifice, and passed from generation to generation. Celebrating America 250. 101.1 The Answer, where Little Rock comes to talk. Live from Little Rock, Doc Washburn.
It's fun when they let me out to go talk to people.
He's like the adorable puppy, you know. He chews on your Christian Louboutins, but somehow you still love him.
They say I'm a distinguished radio talk show. No insult intended. The news you don't get anywhere else. Doc Washburn.
It's good to be able to get out of the studio so that I can actually kiss hands and shake babies.
You just can't make this stuff up. As we say here in the natural state, y'all come see us.
You better watch what you say, or you might just find yourself with the lead role.
The Doc Washburn Show. Weekday afternoons, 4 to 6.
If I don't lie down and take a nap, I'm going to keel over.
Doc Washburn on 101.1. The Answer.
Can we rock? What's up, Doc? Can we rock? What's up, Doc? Can we rock? What's up, Doc? Can we rock?
101.1 The Answer. Doc Washburn Show continues, where we're talking about something that you want to talk about. You want to get on the air. Discuss with us. The number to call is 501-401-1011. I like to give you a little bit of good news every once in a while when I can. This came out this afternoon over at the Conversation. Big hat tip to Morgan Marietta, University of Tennessee. In two landmark decisions, the Supreme Court expands gun rights for concealed carry holders and casual drug users. So we'll see where that goes. Two Supreme Court rulings, June 2026, reinforced the trend toward broad gun rights under the Second Amendment, overriding attempts to limit concealed carry and to punish the ownership of guns by casual drug users. The ruling in the concealed carry case, Wolford versus Lopez, was no surprise. It followed the expected 6-3 division of the conservative and liberal wings of the court to block the state of Hawaii from making concealed carry a practical impossibility. And, buddy, I'm going to tell you something. It may be beautiful over there in Hawaii, but they're a blue state. So no matter what it looks like, blue states want to make it impossible for you to protect and defend yourself with deadly force. Simple as that. So, thank God that somehow President Trump was able to get into the Oval Office in 2016. And so we have people on the Supreme Court who take the Second Amendment seriously, because if Hillary had pulled it out and got into the Oval Office, this country would probably look like Zimbabwe by now. Can you imagine if she had been allowed to put 3 justices on the Supreme Court? Buddy, it's evil. So, anyway, Morgan Marietta over there at theconversation.com says, as a long-time observer of the Supreme Court, I believe the unanimous ruling in the second case, U.S. Wait a minute, did you hear that? Most people don't realize there are unanimous rulings every once in a while. They think that most rulings are 6-3. And every once in a while you get a 5-4. But no. Unanimous ruling in the second case, U.S. versus Himani, is more surprising from the conservative court. That's because it strikes down the long-standing federal law restricting gun ownership by consumers of controlled substances. The ruling suggests the current court is so pro-gun, it has decided it must also be pro-drugs. Wait a minute. Well, it's 9-0. Now you get a lie, fam. If you can say Ketanji Brown Jackson could be on the same side of any ruling, that's pretty remarkable. So back to the concealed carry ruling. Wolford versus Lopez. The gist of the ruling comes in the first sentence. For years, the state of Hawaii made it almost impossible to obtain the license to carry a firearm. After the Supreme Court's 2022 Bruin ruling, B-R-U-E-N, recognized the right to carry a concealed handgun in public for personal defense, Hawaii continued to attempt to restrict that right. In other words, they were ignoring what the Supreme Court said. Hawaii's recent gun law flipped the script on allowable concealed carry regulations. Rather than the normal limitation that a property owner can ban concealed carry by posting a sign, all concealed carry was assumed to be banned unless the owner posted a sign allowing it. As Justice Samuel Alito, the author of the decision, summarized the effect of the law, citizens would be barred from entering many places that people routinely visit in the course of their daily routines, such as gas stations, convenience stores, restaurants, coffee shops, drugstores, grocery stores, big box stores, home improvement stores, barbershops or hair salons, dry cleaners, and laundromats. If those restrictions make concealed carry impractical for ordinary citizens, then, Alito wrote, this regime hobbles what the Second Amendment protects, the right of Americans to carry arms for self-defense as they go about their daily lives. Justices Ketanji Brown Jackson and the wise Latina Sonia Sotomayor see the regulation as nothing remarkable or unconstitutional, but just property owners exercising their rights to ban guns. The majority sees this as subterfuge. Under the current court, a core individual right, free speech, free exercise of religion, or personal defense with firearms, can be regulated but not eradicated, limited but not eliminated. For the court majority, the Hawaii regulation was a transparent attempt to stamp out concealed carry in the state of Hawaii. Now, on to the guns and drugs. The 1968 Gun Control Act initiated the federal restriction on the combination of guns and drugs, specifically targeting marijuana users. The amendments in 1993, the Brady Law, and in 1994, the Violence Against Women Act, expanded the restriction to apply to any person who is an unlawful user of or addicted to any controlled substance. From 1968 to 2026, it seemed reasonable to believe that drug use and gun use were incompatible because each one of them can kill you. In combination, they seem even more likely to have that result. As Justice Neil Gorsuch noted in this new Himani ruling, quote, we appreciate that drugs and guns can sometimes make for a dangerous mix, unquote. See, that's kind of what I was thinking. But he's saying that in a 9-0 ruling, though. Nonetheless, the court ruled unanimously that the federal law overreaches for two interrelated reasons. One about constitutional law, and the other about the facts surrounding marijuana use. And we will tell you what those two interrelated reasons that the court said federal law has been overreaching on in a 9-0 ruling coming up as the Doc Washer Show continues on Little Rock's premier talk station, 101.1 The Answer.
What's up, Doc? Can we rock? What's up, Doc? Can we rock? What's up, Doc? Can we rock?
Oh, yeah, I'm much better now. Most of the physical effects are gone. They said it was a bad case of the heebie-jeebies. I felt like a prisoner in my own home. But thanks to the bug man, no more heebie-jeebies. I can even put stuff on the countertops again. I just wish I'd called sooner.
Call the Bugman for your own happy home at 663-9464 or go to bugman.com. The Bugman has been in business since 1976. Your satisfaction is their only contract.
On Salem News Channel, principled voices are shaping today's conversation. Scott Jennings brings clarity to the toughest debates. Josh Hammer's blistering commentary puts politics and culture on trial. And Alex Marlowe's insight connects us to what matters most. Watch anytime on Samsung TV Plus, Pluto TV, or find us on your screen at snc.tv. 3 new shows, 1 powerful lineup. Salem News Channel, across America.
The price of gold is surging to new highs. It's already topped $5,000 an ounce. The only question is, how much money will you make when gold hits $6,000 an ounce? Investors like you have made small fortunes off the run-up in precious metals, and not just with gold stocks or ETFs. Many have taken advantage of a little-known gold investment officially released by the U.S. government. Now you can too, when you get our free special report from veteran trader and investor Jim Woods. It's called Gold Wealth Boosters. This new report outlines amazing gold investments that have returned 12 to 26 times more than investing in gold bullion itself. Given the uncertainty in world markets, the investments outlined in Jim Woods' Gold Wealth Boosters report are crucial in 2026, and it's free. To get your free Gold Wealth Boosters report, log on to EagleGoldReport.com. EagleGoldReport.com. That's EagleGoldReport.com.
When you need the news that matters most, you need the Doc Washburn Show. Live and local, Doc covers the latest breaking news from Arkansas and across the nation. Plus, he digs into the stories no one else is talking about, the issues that affect you, your family, and your community. Smart analysis, straight talk, real conversations. The Doc Washburn Show.
Hey, Doc, I appreciate you taking my call. I feel really confident to say anytime that I turn on the radio and you're on the radio, I know that I'm going to get accurate reporting. I'm going to get unbiased perspective, and I want you to know I appreciate it. You do an exceptional job. So I'm listening with intent because I know and I trust that you're going to give us the facts and not an opinion per se.
The Doc Washburn Show, weekdays from 4 to 6 p.m. on 101.1 The Answer, where Little Rock comes to talk.
.1 The Answer. Doc Washburn Show continues. Talking about something you want to talk about, number to call is 501-401-1011. I like being able to give you some good news from time to time. And this Supreme Court ruling saying that Hawaii's state law is unconstitutional, that the Second Amendment means what it says. You do have a right to keep and bear arms. And no state, including Hawaii, can pass a law saying you can't conceal carry unless the business you're walking into has a sign saying it's okay if you conceal carry. That's great. 6-3, I'll take it. But 9-0 overturning the laws that say if you use illegal drugs, you can't own a gun. That's surprising. And again, Justice Neil Gorsuch noted this, by the way, this is called the Himani ruling. Justice Neil Gorsuch noted, we appreciate that drugs and guns can sometimes make for a dangerous mix. Yeah, see, that's kind of what I was thinking. Apparently, that's what the government was thinking when they passed this federal statute all those years ago. But the court ruled unanimously that the federal law overreaches for two interrelated reasons, one about constitutional law, the other about the facts surrounding marijuana use. In 2021, the New York Rifle and Pistol versus Bruin ruling set the constitutional standard for firearms regulations that do not violate the Second Amendment. And that is, they must fit within the nation's historical tradition. This places the burden on the government to identify examples of similar regulations with a long-standing pedigree. They don't have to be what's called a historical twin, but they do have to be grounded in the same how and why of the current law. In its 2024 U.S. versus Rahimi ruling, the court employed this new historical standard to uphold the federal law denying gun rights to people who are under a domestic violence protective order. Okay. At the time of the founding, there were no specific laws addressing guns and spousal abusers, but there were laws that disarmed people who went armed offensively or to the fear and terror of any person. So the court considered those comparisons to be close enough. All right, well, that makes sense. Regarding drugs, advocates of the federal law outlawing gun ownership for users and addicts argue that historical examples of laws restraining habitual drunkards provide the necessary analog. The court disagreed. The court said those laws focused only on those whose habits rendered them practically incapacitated. In 2022, Ali Hamani, Hemani, a marijuana user in Texas who owned a gun for self-defense, was indicted under a federal statute that makes it a felony for anyone who is an unlawful user of or addicted to any controlled substance to possess a firearm. In the court's view, Hemani's kind of moderate marijuana use simply does not qualify, given that, quote, he admits to using marijuana about every other day, but how much marijuana does Mr. Hemani use, and what potency and to what effect? Is he routinely unable to manage his affairs? Is he a risk to himself or his family? Or does he use a mild gummy as a sleep aid a few times a week? The court insists that habitual drunkard laws at the time of the nation's founding applied only to those who could not manage their own affairs, but did not apply to social or even heavy drinkers. There's copious evidence that the founders themselves, not just Sam Adams, but also John Adams and James Madison, were serious drinkers. According to the historical research cited in the Hemani ruling, even George Washington often drank 3 glasses of Madeira in the evening, not enough to be considered a heavy drinker back in his day. The implication seems to be that alcohol was normal then, while marijuana has become normal now. The ruling hinges on evolving perceptions of recreational drugs, especially marijuana. Does pot make users irrational? Does a marijuana habit indicate that someone is irresponsible? If drug users are more likely to leave a gun unattended, more likely to mistakenly perceive a person as threatening, maybe because they have become paranoid, or more likely to react irrationally when someone steals their Cheetos. Wait, I'm unaware of this. Is there an implied connection between marijuana use and consumption of Cheetos? I don't know. Anyway, then the law may have a rational foundation, but the court's view is that the government must demonstrate danger connected with drug use, not merely infer said danger. This is amazing to me, and it's a ruling that just came down yesterday. The background of the ruling is the ever-increasing acceptance of marijuana use. Even Justice Alito, a conservative, penned a concurrence joined by liberal Justice Elena Kagan, noting that marijuana consumption is increasingly common in this country, and from a practical standpoint, law enforcement widely tolerates the use of marijuana. The unanimous ruling notes that the federal government recently moved marijuana from Schedule 1, with no accepted medical use and high potential for abuse, to Schedule 3, which includes drugs such as anabolic steroids, or Tylenol with codeine. Justice Gorsuch points out that surveys suggest there now may be more adults in this country who regularly use marijuana than consume alcohol. Good grief. Wouldn't that tend to be more in blue states and red states? I don't know. Anyway, the court seems to have concluded that they can't fight the new logic. Americans have a constitutional right to guns. Americans smoke weed, so weed can't justify a denial of constitutional rights. To meet the new standards, future gun regulations that come to the court will need to have a clear historical pedigree as well as target a group for whom Americans have less sympathy, such as spousal abusers, rather than increasing affinity pot users. Wow, that's surprising. Anyway, that is over at theconversation.com, and it's written by Helen Fessenden, Senior Economy and Business Editor at theconversation.com. That's Well, I don't really have an opinion on the second ruling. I see what the court's saying, 9-0, that so many people use marijuana on a regular basis and they need to be able to protect and defend themselves. But the first ruling is fantastic because clearly the blue state of Hawaii was determined to ignore the Supreme Court's Bruin ruling of 2021, which made it clear that the Second Amendment means what it says. And you can't just tell people, hey, you can't conceal carry. And they were determined to overrule that. And somebody took them to court, and the Supreme Court basically said, no, I'll tell you what, we actually meant what we said. Yeah, you can't tell your citizens that you can't walk into a business concealed carrying unless there's a sign saying you can walk into that business concealed carrying. You just can't do it. So that's fantastic. Yeah. And again, it's fantastic for me that every once in a while I get to give you a little bit of good news. By the way, President Trump spoke today from D.C., blasting the Bidens' reign of persecution against Christians at the White House faith event. As America prepares to mark its 250th birthday, President Trump held a White House religious liberty event. We'll have some audio from it after the bottom of the hour break. But he delivered a pointed reckoning with the 4 years and almost handed this milestone to the godless. Trump declared the Biden administration carried out a reign of persecution against Christians and people of faith like America has never seen before. FBI agents targeted Catholic parishes. Pro-life grandmothers were thrown in jail for praying outside abortion clinics. Members of the U.S. military were discharged for their religious beliefs. The radicals in charge had one ultimate goal, which is to purge God from public life. Apparently timed to coincide with our 250th anniversary. President Trump said, I don't know how anybody could vote for these people. They were so bad, they were so evil, and yet in many ways incompetent. Well, be thankful for their incompetence. All right, we'll have more from the president coming up as the Doc Washer Show continues. Little Rock's premier talk station, 101.1, The Answer.
With SRN News, I'm John Scott. President Trump blames Iran for a drone strike on a ship in the Strait of Hormuz and calls it a foolish violation of the ceasefire agreement. As a result, U.S. Central Command says the military struck missile and drone locations and coastal radar sites in Iran. Search and rescue efforts took place across Venezuela as humanitarian aid began to arrive following powerful twin earthquakes that killed at least 920 people, injured thousands, and left many more missing. Texas public schools will require students to read Bible stories under a reading list approved by the state's education board. The required reading list approved by the Texas State Board of Education will widen conservative efforts to bring more Christian teachings into U.S. classrooms. This is SRN News.
You've probably heard all those ads for life insurance. Just a few dollars a day, apply online in minutes, no medical exam. Simple, easy, and cheap, right? Now you're thinking, maybe I should get a quote. Well, smart thinking. Everyone should have life insurance. But here's what they don't tell you. Those few dollars a day rates, they're for young people in perfect health. That's why everyone calls Big Lou the 50 to 60-year-old not-so-perfect candidate. Like you. You take prescription meds and you're overweight. Winner, fried chicken dinner. Well, Big Lou works with life insurance companies that want people like you with no surprises after you apply. In fact, if you're a 50-year-old guy with a few health glitches, Lou could probably find you $1 million of term life coverage for about $200 a month. So yeah, you need life insurance. But unless you're young and healthy, you got to call Big Lou because he's like you, older, heavier, and on meds too. Get a quote right now at 800-555-2085. 800-555-2085 or Big Lou.
Are you about to turn 65 and you're confused about Medicare? Hi, it's Doc Washburn. My friend Tammy Chase is a local Medicare enrollment specialist who meets with you in person and makes it simple. Tammy takes the time to understand your needs. She walks you through every option in plain language that's easy to understand. There's no confusion and no pressure, just expert help you can trust. Call my friend Tammy Chase for expert help in making it easy. Tell her Doc sent you. TammyChaseInsurance.com.
This is Carol Platt-Liebel for townhall.com. As Americans celebrate our nation's 250th birthday, we've received a special and quite unexpected gift, a spontaneous outpouring of affection from the rest of the world. Visitors from across the globe are attending World Cup matches here, and many are posting videos expressing their delight with what they're finding and what we so often take for granted. Our safe streets and parks, our barbecue, ranch dressing, the wonders of Longhorn Steakhouse, unlimited refills, but above all, the kindness and friendliness of the American people. Too often, tourists fly into New York or Los Angeles and assume they've seen America. Now they're discovering America's heartland and the enormous heart of its generous, welcoming people. At 250 years old, America is still inspiring admiration, gratitude, and affection around the world. I'm Carol Platt-Liebel.
97 out of every 100 people who find your business online leave without ever making contact. Salem Media can put a human in charge of converting your website traffic to leads while you sleep. Call us today at 501-404-6535.
We bring you the biggest news stories of the day. Not to tell you what to think, but to allow you to have the most information so you can make up your mind. 101.1, The Answer, where Little Rock comes to talk.
The Answer. Doc Washer Show continues. We're talking about something that you want to talk about on the radio with us. Number to call is 501-401-1011. Mentioned before the bottom of the hour break that President Trump is speaking at a faith-oriented celebration at the White House today. And he had some things he wanted to say about communism and warning about communism. And one of the things we've been seeing in the news here in the past few days, ever since Tuesday night's primary, in which 3 communists endorsed by New York City Mayor Zohran Mamdani won their Democrat primaries for U.S. House, 2 of them defeating incumbent progressive Democrats, but weren't left-wing enough, obviously. There has been talk about a civil war in the Democrat Party. And there are Democrats who are like, well, look, we're already left-wing, we're already progressive, but these guys go way too far out. And I heard Hugh Hewitt on Fox News today talking about the progressives they already have in office, AOC and Rashida Tlaib and people like that, Ilhan Omar. But these new people that are going to be coming into the U.S. House, they're actual anti-Semites. And no offense, but I beg to differ with our friend Hugh Hewitt, who I met when he was in town, real nice guy. I'm going to say AOC, Rashida Tlaib, and Ilhan Omar are already anti-Semites. It's not just the people who are scheduled to come in January. But that's, a whole nother show. Anyway, let's get you some audio, what President Trump was saying today, warning about communism. Cut one, please. If we have it.
As you saw with the communists elected in New York City recently, they're communists, they're not social democrats. They want to completely destroy the traditional American way of life. Communism is very easy to sell. It destroys everything, but it's very easy. I'll be honest, I think I'd be the greatest communist in history. I'd give free rent. Ladies and gentlemen, from now on, you don't have to pay any rent. From now on, anybody wants a house, don't worry about it. Just pick the house you want. Everybody gets free food. Everything is free from this point forward. Everyone's going to vote for me. The problem is, after 2 or 3 years, the country is a disaster area. The country fails. They always do.
Let the record reflect President Trump in saying what he would say if he were a communist. Use the term ladies and gentlemen. So I guess he's associating that phrase with commies. I don't know. But he's certainly right in that it always fails. What it succeeds in is starving people to death. And that's one of the reasons that the Ukrainians, who apparently have a long memory, are so upset with the Russians, because Stalin intentionally starved 20 million Ukrainians to death when he was in office. But that's a whole nother show. Trump warns about communism. Cut 2, please.
So easy to sell. That first year, boy, you're the most popular. It's happening right now in New York and California. But you'll start living in squalor. You'll live in squalor. There will be no food. There will be no housing. There will be no military. There will be no law and order. There will be no nothing. There will be no nothing. You'll be a third world inhabitant in every way, and everyone will suffer or die. You'll suffer or die. That's what happens. For thousands of years, it's been happening by different names.
Now, what he said at the end of that is fascinating. For thousands of years, it's been happening under different names, because Karl Marx is the guy who wrote the books establishing the idea of communism in the mid-1800s. But President Trump is saying this has been going on for thousands of years under different names. Well, I'm old enough to remember, so I played a clip of it the other day, when President Trump was trying to warn people about the dangers of Islam when he was running for president of the Republican primaries in 2016. He had an interview with Anderson Cooper, CNN, who said, well, now, is the enemy radical Islam or just Islam? And Trump said, well, that's something you're going to have to figure out. Maybe you get another Pulitzer. But that whole way of life disagrees with our way of life. Well, Islam's been around since the 7th century. Communism, by that name, has been around less than 200 years. Karl Marx wrote the book, The Communist Manifesto, in 1848. And the whole Das Kapital thing took from 1867 to 1894 to write, so it came out after he was dead. But what does communism have in common with Islam? Well, Islam believes in Sharia law, and it is a very detailed system of what you can do and what you can't do. And when Muslims take over a society, they inexorably impose Sharia law. And so the whole problem with a top-down government, a top-down society, a top-down economy, whether you call it Sharia law or communism or whatever, is that people starve. Because there's no incentive for people to make money to provide for their families. In some senses, people aren't allowed to do that. So I'm glad the president is warning about communism. I wish he'd also go back to warning about Sharia law. And we'll get to that too. Anyway, Trump warns about communism. Cut 3, please.
This is the most serious threat to our country since its existence, in my opinion, 250 years ago. This is a major threat to our country. It isn't something that's easily solved, but with a little love and help, some hard work, because it's ironic we're celebrating a very important birthday, our most important birthday so far, 250 years. And instead of speaking about Christ, and instead of speaking about freedom and victories of all different kinds, we're speaking about yet another threat to the foundations of America.
Indeed. I think plenty of people still are speaking about Christ, so I'm not sure what he meant there. But yeah, there are a lot of threats to America. One of the threats is this memorandum of understanding that he signed with Iran, letting them rebuild their military. That's a big threat to America. Trump warns about communism. Cut 4, please.
These ruthless communists will attack all religions, but in particular Christianity. They always do. They're after Christianity more than any other religion. It seems to be more and more throughout the world, maybe because we're doing so well. I don't know. Maybe if we weren't doing well. But you see the numbers, how they're growing, how the churches are filling up. It's a beautiful thing to see. I mean, look, it happens to be during my presidency, so I don't mind taking credit for it. I'm very proud. But a lot of great things are happening. All communist countries attack religions violently. It's part of their deal.
Yeah, it is definitely part of their deal. And again, Islam attacks their enemies violently also. Now, 10 days ago, President Trump made a joint announcement with Sheikh Tamim bin Hamad Al Thani, the Emir of Qatar, Qatar. And he announced that Qatar will be investing over $19 trillion into the United States because the money they invested so far in promoting, I guess, Jew hatred of Israel wasn't enough. They need more. Again, Qatar is a country that has been funding Hamas for many, many years. Many years. And Hamas has killed Americans, but I guess we're just supposed to forget all about that at this point. It's remarkable to me. And again, it's also remarkable when President Trump says, maybe Hamas hasn't been all that bad. We got to our next audio clip. Trump says Hamas has been behaving.
It's my hope that the peace agreement will be the beginning of a much larger deal all across the Middle East. We're very close. Look at the job we've done in Gaza. Look at Hamas. Hamas has been very silent. You haven't read anything about Hamas, and we're trying to get them unarmed. You know, they grew up with a machine gun in their hand. I think they actually, when they were born, they came out with a machine gun in their hand. So it's not the easiest thing, but they've actually, behaved pretty well, considering this was not the lifestyle that they were taught to have.
I don't know. They're continuing to murder their own people in the streets, and the videos are all over the place. So I'm not sure that Hamas has been behaving pretty well. It's just remarkable to me. I like the old Trump. I like the Trump that was warning about the dangers of Islam. That's the Trump that resonates with me. All right, you got more coming up as the Doc Washburn Show continues on Little Rock's premier talk station, 101.1 The Answer.
I won't tell them your name.
If you have unfiled taxes or are in debt to the IRS, this is important news. Did you know the IRS has programs specifically designed to help people struggling with tax debt? Powerful tax assistance programs that can save you thousands if you qualify. No one knows these programs better than the experts at Optima Tax Relief, America's most trusted tax resolution firm, A-rated by the Better Business Bureau. Their award-winning tax attorneys and licensed professionals have resolved over $3 billion of tax debt for their clients. One call to Optima can start the process, helping to put an end to your worries about wage garnishment, asset seizure, and other aggressive IRS actions. Find the best options to solve your tax problems. Call the experts at Optima Tax Relief today for a free consultation.
Call 800-965-1433. 800-965-1433. 800-965-1433.
Optima Tax Relief.
Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
Need your business seen by thousands every day? Put your message where Benton shops, right in front of Walmart on I-30. At Powers Billboards, we help local businesses get noticed with high visibility advertising that works. Whether you're promoting a sale, grand opening, restaurant, service business, or event, our premium billboard location delivers nonstop exposure to local traffic every single day. Big impact, local audience, real results. Go to powersbillboards.com today to reserve your space in front of Walmart in Benton before it's gone. Powers Billboards. Your business deserves to be seen.
If things don't change, can you imagine America in 20 years? Scary thought, isn't it? The good news is we have the power to take our nation back. Stay right here for all the information you need. 101.1, The Answer. What if you could take 101.1 The Answer with you everywhere? You can. Download the 101.1 The Answer app and stay connected to the voices you trust, live and on demand. Wake up with Dave Ellswick. Stay sharp with Doc Washburn. And hear from national voices like Chris DeGaulle, Scott Jennings, Hugh Hewitt, Larry Elder, and Mike Gallagher. Breaking news, bold opinions, local insight, national perspective, all in one place, all in your pocket, at work, in the car, on the go. If it matters to Arkansas and America, you'll hear it on 101.1 The Answer. Plus, stream us live anywhere. Catch up on podcasts and never miss a moment. Search 101.1 The Answer in your app store and download it today. 101.1 The Answer, where Little Rock comes to talk. There's a real battle going on, not only for our future, but that of our children and grandchildren. How do we ensure they have it better than we do? One way is to keep listening to us. We're your information source in the battle. 101.1 The Answer.
101.1 The Answer. Doc Washburn Show continues. If you want to get into the conversation, talk to us on the radio. Number to call is 501-401-1011. So President Trump announcing that as the sanctions are eased, some of Iran's money is going to go to buying American agricultural products. So let's play that clip.
One of the things that we are doing also, and it came up last night, is money that's being unfrozen is going to be used to buy food, and the food's going to be bought exclusively through the United States from our farmers. And corn, soybeans, all of the things they need are going to be bought from our farmers. So our farmers are very happy. I've had a lot of calls. They were very happy about that.
Of course, Iran says, nope, that's not going to happen. It's certainly not in the memorandum of understanding. Now, does President Trump believe it? Sounds like it. Is it maybe because J.D. Vance told him, oh, yeah, they signed off on this, they agreed to it? Could be. Hard to tell. The great Daniel Greenfield over at frontpagemag.com has the article out. Iran is never going to stop shutting down the Strait of Hormuz. Subtitle, Iran only has one card to play, and it's not going to stop. He says Iran only has one card to play, and that's shutting down the Strait of Hormuz, so it'll never stop doing it. Iran's leaders, unsatisfied with billions of dollars in new oil sales, access to cash, and promises of sanctions relief, and $300 billion in the deal, are trying to charge for access to the Strait of Hormuz. Meanwhile, despite the waivers of oil sales, they're attacking ships passing through the strait to show they're in charge. So now the Trump administration authorized strikes on Iran's drones and missiles again. This comes after J.D. Vance had proposed a deconfliction program between the United States military and Iran's IRGC terrorists. Unsurprisingly, that didn't work. The only thing that you get when you negotiate with terrorists is, that's right, gentle listeners, more terrorism. That's because negotiating with them shows them that the terrorism worked, and because it's all the leverage that they have. We're negotiating with them because they shut down the Strait of Hormuz. And some politicians still think they can work out a deal that will stop Iran from pushing the same button that gave them a win. How is that supposed to work exactly? Well, the late, great Rudyard Kipling summed that up nicely. And here's the quote from his book. It is always a temptation for a rich and lazy nation to puff and look important and to say, though we know we should defeat you, we have not the time to meet you. We will therefore pay you cash to go away. And that is called paying the Danegeld. But we've proved it again and again that if once you have paid him the Danegeld, you never get rid of the Dane. Daniel Greenfield says, pay the Danegeld and you never get rid of the Dane. Pay the jihadis and you never get rid of the jihad. That's right, brother. That's what's up. President Trump said a week or so ago, and we played the audio on the Doc Washburn show. He said, we had to take this deal or they never would have opened up the Strait of Hormuz. Doesn't matter how much we bombed them, they never would have opened up the Strait of Hormuz. We had to take this deal. Okay, so he told Iran last week, you guys have the upper hand. That may not have been the best idea. I don't know. Doesn't seem like it would be. Mark Tapson of frontpagemag.com Article called "Now We're Going to Sell Stealth Fighters to Turkey." For those who cling to the insistence that President Trump is always playing 5D chess with his opponents, now would be a great time to explain to the rest of us what the strategy is behind his repeated recent moves to empower our existential Islamic enemies. First, Trump prevented Israel from finishing the job with the savage terror group Hamas in Gaza, going so far as to promise to invest in developing the Palestinian territories into the Riviera of the Middle East. Then, after vowing to rescue the Iranian people from the oppressive fundamentalist regime, Trump stopped short of finishing that job and made a deal with the mullahs and the IRGC instead of crushing them to the last man and demanding unconditional surrender. Now, Trump and Vice President Vance, who apparently remains tight with Islam apologist Tucker Carlson, are paving the way to sell F-35 fighter jets to Turkey, which is ruled by Islamic supremacist President Recep Erdogan. In Trump's first term, his administration removed Turkey from the F-35 Joint Strike Fighter program, blocked any sales or deliveries of the jets over concerns that Turkey's Russian air defense system could collect sensitive data on the stealth fighters' capabilities, potentially compromising it for NATO allies. Now, Trump is pressing for a workaround. Vance told reporters on Wednesday Trump asked him and Secretary of War Pete Hegseth to initiate a review to see how the U.S. could make the sale of the stealth fighters happen. The administration is also planning to move forward with the sale of dozens of General Electric jet engines to Turkey worth more than $700 million, technology that will power Turkey's first indigenous combat jet program. Asked on Wednesday about the jet engine sale and the F-35 program, he replied, "I'm going to probably do something that will make them very happy." So, rhetorical question. Why should we be doing anything that, one, empowers Turkey militarily, and two, makes the America-hating Erdogan happy? Will it make him like us? Would Erdogan ever consider reciprocating? Would the Iranian mullahs reciprocate? Would Hamas reciprocate? No, of course not. They want to see America and the rest of the world destroyed, and they'll happily exploit our naivety, our capitalist greed, and our willful blindness about Islam to accomplish that aim. Erdogan has openly stated his intention of restoring the Ottoman Empire. He's openly vowed that Europe will fall to Islam demographically. He's openly prayed for the death and destruction of our close ally, Israel. He's openly praised and or supported Hamas, Taliban, Muslim Brotherhood, Iran, Syria's jihad president, and ISIS. To give a taste of his commitment to Islamic supremacism, in 2020, he praised the reconversion of the Hagia Sophia in Istanbul, from museum to a mosque. Let's give this guy some fighter jets. What could possibly go wrong? All right, have a great weekend. The great Dave Ellswick and Val Emmons. Monday morning, 7:06. I'm Doc Washburn. See you at 4:06 Monday afternoon, God willing. 101.1, The Answer.
Think about